Arsenal are good again. Look, I know that it's hard for some people to accept it, but I'm afraid it's true. The last time Arsenal were any good, or at least were this good, was under Arsene Wenger. And you'd probably have to go back as far as the mid-2000s for the last time that the Gunners were this consistently at it, so to speak, and formidable for half a season. Wenger's early years at Arsenal were quite simply majestic. Not only did he completely revolutionise English football in terms of players' diets, training, and all-round professionalism, he was relentlessly successful. Between his first full season in charge of the Gunners in 1997-98 and the 2004-05 season, Arsenal went 8 straight seasons in which they either won the Premier League title or finished as the division's runners-up. Wenger's later years, after Arsenal moved to the Emirates in 2006 and had to deal with the newfound spending power of Chelsea and later Manchester City, whilst operating on a comparative shoestring budget, were, somewhat understandably, considerably less successful. But 4.5 years on from the Frenchman's departure, I thought that it might be interesting to take a look at the last 7 players who were sold by Arsenal under him and see what they're getting up to now. It is a bit of a throwback to what used to be a frequent genre video on this channel before I got bogged down in 45-minute documentaries about drug cartels in Nicaragua and satanic cults in South Korea. Don't worry, I'll be back with them again soon. But for now, here are Arsene Wenger's last 7 sales as Arsenal manager. Where are they now? 7th, Kieran Gibbs, Inter Miami. Kieran Gibbs spent 10 years in the Arsenal first team, racking up in excess of 200 appearances during that time, and winning 10 caps over a 5-year period for the England national team. And yet, he is probably best known for being sent off against Chelsea when the referee in that game, Andre Mariner, got him mixed up with Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. Honestly, it can be a cruel game at times. Incidentally, after selling Gibbs on transfer deadline day in August 2017 for approximately £7 million to West Bromwich Albion, Wenger commented that the sale of Gibbs hurt him more than the sale of Oxlade-Chamberlain to Liverpool for £35 million on the very same day. Wenger explained that though Gibbs had been in and out of the Arsenal team for the last few seasons, it hurt to lose the values that had been instilled in him during his academy days and that he had been able to bring into the first team. Wenger had converted Gibbs from the left wing to left back during his teens, but soon to turn 28 at the time of his departure, the arrival of Sead Kolasinac and the continued presence of Nacho Monreal had relegated Gibbs to third choice. He went on to play exactly a century of games at West Brom, where he suffered 1 relegation, won 1 promotion, and was once sent off for slapping James Rodriguez in the face. This time, though, it was actually him. Since March 2021, Gibbs has been playing for Qatari stooge David Beckham's MLS franchise, Inter Miami, under the managerial wizardry of Phil Neville, where I am reliably informed that he hasn't been very good. Just as an aside on this one, Gibbs, like a lot of footballers, is obsessed with cryptocurrencies. Gibbs revealed over a year ago that after crypto liquidity provider and asset manager XBTO became the sponsors of Inter Miami, he became one of the world's first footballers to have half his salary paid in Bitcoin. All roads lead to Bitcoin, as Gibbs himself put it, and he has attended cryptocurrency conferences since moving to Miami. Incidentally, since Gibbs converted half of his $370,000 a year salary into Bitcoin, the value of Bitcoin itself has fallen by well over 50%. 6th, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, Liverpool. Well, there was a bit of a spoiler on my part with regards to this one, my apologies there, but yes, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain was sold by Arsenal and Arsene Wenger on the same day as Kieran Gibbs on August 30th, 2017, also known as transfer deadline day. Did I mention that Wenger said the sale of Gibbs hurt him more? Yeah, I did. Alright then. Signed by Arsenal a week before his 18th birthday, for a reported fee of £12 million, possibly rising to £15 million, Oxlade-Chamberlain was one of a number of outstanding young players to graduate from the Southampton Academy over a remarkably short period of time. He made his debut on the South Coast at the age of only 16, and following his debut campaign at Arsenal, he was called up to the England squad for Euro 2012, still aged only 18. Played predominantly as a winger at Arsenal, Oxlade-Chamberlain supposedly saw himself as more of a central midfielder, and it was the promise of playing there that was said to be a major factor in his £35 million switch to Liverpool. The Ox, as he used to be referred to, though now that I've just said it, it occurs to me that I haven't heard anyone else call him that for a while, made a fantastic start to life at Anfield, and he looked to be a shoo-in to start for England at the 2018 World Cup. Unfortunately, in April 2018, Oxlade-Chamberlain ruptured the cruciate ligaments in his knee, ruling him out for almost 12 months. Oxlade-Chamberlain still plays for Liverpool, now aged 29, but he has since suffered persistent injury setbacks. He's never quite seemed to be the same player since rupturing his knee ligaments, and he hasn't won a cap for England since 2019. 5th, Francis Coquelin, Villarreal. Signed by Arsenal as a 17-year-old, before he had made his first team debut for third-tier Stade Laval, Francis Coquelin went on to spend a decade contracted to the Gunners, where he made his first team debut at 17, just 2 months after his arrival. But he didn't become a regular fixture until the 2014-15 season, following loan spells with Lorient, Freiburg, and Charlton Athletic. A tough tackling, hard-working, and occasionally slightly dirty defensive midfielder, Coquelin wasn't of the traditional Arsenal mould, always more destructive than creative, which led some to suggest that he could be just what an Arsenal team, long accused of being too nice, needed. There was a time when those prophecies looked as though they might be realised, during the 2015-16 season, when the Frenchman hit a rich vein of form and spoke of his ambition of emulating Patrick Vieira, before suffering a bitterly unfortunately timed knee injury. Coquelin was only actually sidelined for around 2 months, but during that time, Arsene Wenger signed Mohamed El Neni, signalling that he still viewed Coquelin's position as one in which he needed to strengthen. Though he returned to the first team fold, he was already viewed as a temporary fix from that point on, rather than a long-term solution. And in January 2018, following 160 games for Arsenal, Coquelin was sold for €14 million to Valencia. He was excellent during his 2.5 years at the Mestalla, but fell victim to another one of Peter Lim's fire sales in the summer of 2020, making the short journey to nearby Villarreal, along with his central midfield partner Dani Parejo, for a fee of just €13 million, where he has played ever since. 4th, Theo Walcott, Southampton. Theo Walcott might be a bit of a forgotten man now, aged 33 and already not having played for England in almost 7 years, but I do feel as though his contribution at Arsenal is sometimes somewhat underplayed. Perhaps it's because Walcott arrived to such a furore at Arsenal as a 17-year-old, a shock inclusion that summer, you may recall, in Sven-Goran Eriksson's England squad at the World Cup, and likened to Gunners legend Thierry Henry in terms of his role, style, and speed at such a young age. Walcott may have been as fast as Henry, in fact, he might even have been a little quicker than the Frenchman, but those comparisons always put him on a hiding to nothing. Nonetheless, Walcott still went on to score 108 goals in 397 games at Arsenal, and likely that would have been many more had he not suffered a horrible cruciate ligament rupture that ruled him out for almost a year when he was at the peak of his powers. Walcott's 188 goal contributions in 397 games for Arsenal is a similar level of output to Eden Hazard at Chelsea. Walcott has also scored more Champions League goals than the Belgian, and in the 2012-13 season, as a 23-year-old, Walcott made 36 goal contributions in only 43 games. He was nowhere near as good as Hazard, don't get me wrong, but that is a tremendous output, and I don't think that he quite gets the credit he deserves. Walcott left Arsenal in January 2018, much to Arsene Wenger's disappointment, joining Everton for in excess of £20 million. Wenger may have been disappointed, but Walcott only left due to a lack of game time, and he has been very quiet over the last few seasons, particularly since rejoining his boyhood club Southampton in 2020. Third, Alexis Sanchez, Marseille. Speaking of players who had ridiculous levels of output at Arsenal, Alexis Sanchez didn't just do it for a single season, but for the entirety of his time at the Emirates. A huge signing at the time, in fairness, Sanchez was signed by Arsenal in the summer of 2014, off the back of 3 seasons in which he had been a pretty regular starter, and even a star performer at times, in a sensational Barcelona team. He set the Gunners back £31.7 million, but he still proved to be an absolute bargain. In 166 games for the Gunners, Sanchez made 125 goal contributions, so over 0.75 per game, which was made up of 80 goals and 45 assists. Unfortunately for Arsenal, in desperately trying to tie him and Mesut Ozil down on new contracts, having let their existing deals run into their final year, they probably convinced the wrong one to extend. Sanchez could not be swayed after Arsenal missed out on the Champions League, and he was offered the chance to become the highest paid player in the Premier League at Manchester United. It was a move which didn't really work out for anyone other than Sanchez's bank balance, as he fell off a cliff at Old Trafford, looking a shadow of his former self. He ruined whatever semblance of a wage structure the Red Devils had, and saddled them with a massive salary that they couldn't offload, and Henrik Mkhitaryan, who joined Arsenal as part of that deal, also had a pretty miserable time at the Emirates. Manchester United subsequently offloaded Sanchez to Inter Milan, and after his contract with this Serie A side was terminated last summer, the Chilean side for perennial crisis club Marseille. Sanchez looks somewhat rejuvenated on France's south coast, where he has scored 9 goals in 23 games so far this season, now aged 34. Second, Olivier Giroud, AC Milan. A very late-stage Arsene Wenger signing, Olivier Giroud was a Frenchman, tick, signed for a modest fee of just £9.6 million, tick, who was good but seemingly not quite good enough to win Arsenal the league. Tick. In fairness, Giroud has since been part of a World Cup winning team with France and has won a Serie A title with AC Milan just last season, so perhaps he wasn't the problem after all. Never the most prolific, but not nearly as wasteful in front of goal as some people like to make out, Giroud struck 105 times in 253 games for Arsenal, spending 6.5 years at the club. He was Arsene Wenger's penultimate sale at the Emirates, joining Chelsea for an undisclosed fee, reported to be around £18 million, on transfer deadline day in January 2018. Giroud was in and out of the Chelsea team for the next 3.5 years, scoring some important goals and actually winning 3 trophies, including the UEFA Champions League. Now aged 36, Giroud joined his current club, AC Milan, in the summer of 2021, winning the Scudetto during his debut campaign, and he became France's all-time record goal scorer, overtaking Arsenal legend Thierry Henry at the World Cup in Qatar. It's a fantastic record for a man who has been lethal for Les Bleus, but it is one which is only likely to last about 5 minutes until Kylian Mbappe breaks it, almost certainly before the next World Cup. First, Mathieu Debuchy, Valenciennes. Yes, that's right. The last first-team player to be sold by Arsene Wenger at Arsenal, also sold on transfer deadline day in January 2018, but I am told later in the day than Giroud signed for Chelsea, is Mathieu Debuchy. Another Frenchman, though not actually brought to Arsenal from France in this case. I don't remember Debuchy doing much at Arsenal, though I must admit I was surprised by just how few games he actually played for them. Between his arrival from Newcastle United in July 2014 for a fee of £12 million and his sale to Saint Etienne in January 2018, completely free of charge, Debuchy played just 13 Premier League games for Arsenal and only 30 games in all competitions. Signed as Bakary Sagna's replacement, Debuchy had a torrid time with injuries at the Emirates, and that, combined with Hector Bellerin's emergence, resulted in him playing so few games. Unlike with Walcott or Gibbs, Arsene Wenger had few regrets about Debuchy's departure. Often cited as one of the Arsenal boss's worst ever signings, Debuchy had a famously frosty relationship with his compatriot, which he made no secret of revealing during his time at the club, later stating that he was angered that Arsenal didn't accept an approach that was made for him from Manchester United. Instead, Debuchy joined Saint Etienne, where he scored 57 goals in 44 games in his debut campaign, and proceeded to win the Ballon d'Or. Nah, I'm just kidding. Bloody joker, aren't I? He was injured loads, playing 97 times in 3.5 seasons, before joining Ligue 2 side Valencia in the summer of 2021, where he is the club's highest paid player. Is he worth it? I have absolutely no idea. I don't think that I've ever seen him play for them, but at least he seems to have stayed relatively fit for the last 18 months. That is it for today's video, a throwback to a bygone HITC Sevens age that I like to make every now and again, partly because I still find them enjoyable, and I hope that you will too, and partly because it takes days to make an in-depth documentary about some complex or obscure happening within the weird world of football, and at some point I should probably try to get more than 5 hours sleep or talk to my girlfriend, or even both, especially since today is actually my birthday. Yes, my Amazon wish list is in... No, I'm just kidding. Thank you all very much, as ever, for watching. Hit the like button if you enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. And make sure, of course, as a birthday present, that you are subscribed and have notifications turned on for HITC Sevens. You can also find me on Twitter or on Instagram via the username @HITC Sevens on both, should you wish to do so. Cheers.